as a special surprise, I have Adam Marcus himself
Stop.
in this
Stop.
Zoom meeting.
What?
The man, Adam Marcus, director of Jason Goes to Hell. I would
You're
like to welcome
lying.
him to the
It's
show.
over. Hello.
All right, today I'm joined by Jason Goes to Hell hater, Haunted Hippie. How are
Yes,
you?
that's me. I'm doing well today. How you doing?
Awesome. Are you ready to
Good,
check
good.
out Jason Goes to Hell again?
I'm ready. I'm going in with an open mind. Usually when I know how bad a movie is, I enjoy it a little more the next time around because like I just go in with low expectations and I usually have more fun. So
Awesome.
we'll see.
Well, hopefully you'll at least have more fun and maybe like it a little more than last time.
I think I will. I think I will.
Hopefully.
It'll be better with somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So are you ready to start the film?
I am.
All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. But there's one critical detail I didn't tell Haunted Hippie. Because as you've seen in the preview intro, I will bring out Adam Marcus by the end of this video. So we'll watch the movie now, and then I'll bring out Adam fucking Marcus. Now enjoy our commentary and stick to the end, because it's a fun confrontation.
I just realized I completely forgot almost the entire plot of this movie.
It's a lot of fun, and this opening is absolutely banger though.
I forget it'll be like a first time watch for me again.
Perfect, honestly.
It's more fun that way.
Like throughout the film, there's definitely like a shift of music. Like in this intro scene, it's just like this classical Friday the 13th stuff,
Yeah.
but later just gets fucking loud and crazy and way different from what you've heard earlier. But it makes sense with this scene though, because
think
it's like trying to hit all the tropes of a Friday the 13th film in the beginning.
Oh. That got me. Oh my god. Yeah.
It's so overkill.
Oh yeah. But once you get to the 9th movie of a franchise, I mean, this is what you got to do, you know? You gotta subvert expectations. You gotta do something weird.
Yeah. See, that's why I fucking love this film. Like, it just completely goes bonkers. Just this whole 90s vibe and like the way the camera looks and stuff like that. That alone is a reason to love it, in my opinion.
I think I don't remember this movie being as stylish as it is. The lighting and the cinematography is pretty
I know,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
It's really good.
And Adam Marcus was what, like 23 or something?
Yeah.
22 when he did
It's
this?
impressive, honestly.
It really is. I know what's coming up and like I'm not ready for it. I mean, I don't do super well with body horror in general, but I can usually handle most stuff. This really grosses me out.
I know.
No. I can't, like, I can't. I can't. Oh my god, it's like the noises he makes too. It's so grotesque.
I fucking love this scene. Well, like the lines from this dude that just walked in are so funny.
Hey, fuck.
Oh yeah.
How you doing, you fat ass, maggoty, blown up fuck? Suck this!
Yes, that's a probe.
It's pretty funny. Like, how many murder victims do you know that go, oh yes, that is the murder weapon,
Yeah.
before they get killed?
Oh, I love that effect, by the way. Like in the mirror, you can see Jason.
I missed that.
I think it's such a
Oh man.
cool little thing.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get it in
Oh.
more scenes, I think. I fucking love this scene. It's such a small thing, but great world building, I guess.
Mhm.
You know, they're selling like Jason Voorhees burgers.
Yeah.
I love it so much that I don't know if you've ever seen it, but 2 years ago, I think, I made a video where I did like my own sort of cooking show. And
Really?
I made those Jason burgers.
Oh my god, is it still on your channel?
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh my god. Oh, I'll definitely check that out.
Okay, Jason is dead. 2-for-1 burger sale. That's the ice machine that's also like in Halloween 4. I'm not sure if that's like a reference to Halloween 4.
Oh yeah, it might be.
Or it's just an ice machine, you know?
Or it's just an ice machine.
Now, see, that is a very, very expensive question, boy. And
Sounds like a line out of a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
In the original cut, there would have been a scene somehow explaining that Jason Voorhees killed his girlfriend, like Creighton Duke's girlfriend.
Oh.
Which is why he's so obsessed with him.
Okay, that makes way more sense then.
It's a great layer to it, but unfortunately, cut out. Here we go again.
Did you? I can't. Ugh. You know, I'm one of those people that when I see or hear somebody throw up, it makes me throw up. So like this kind of thing is so nasty to me.
I'm a sucker for gore like this. One of my all-time favorites is like The Blob from 1988. So this is like right up my fucking alley.
Oh,
that is such a fucking cool effect.
Oh, it really is. It's so gross though. Oh my god. Oh my god. This movie gives me the ick.
Sound
design is really interesting though, because I'm like, how did they make that sound? Because to me it sounds like somebody burped and then they mixed it really weird, you know?
Yeah. Lowered the pitch or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on!
Of course. The car's not starting.
You know what? The acting in this movie is better than it has any right to be for a Friday the 13th movie.
I know.
I mean like these leads, I think the acting is really good.
That's Adam Marcus, by the way, as one of the cops, like the middle one.
Oh, okay. It's just
it's like they had a pig in the vocal booth.
Yeah.
Whoa! Hold it right there. Don't move a fucking muscle, either of you.
It's like a Rob Zombie character.
Yeah. I think more people need to go back and rewatch this movie because there's a lot that's really charming about it and the gore is so good.
And this like set piece is so fucking awesome too. And like this action scene in it of itself is just awesome. Like some of the bizarreness and craziness really reminds me of Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that movie came later, but I don't know, just the effects and like some of the comedy and just the way it looks. There's something about it, you know, it's super random and I'm probably the only person who compares the two, but for some reason it just feels similar somehow. Creighton Duke could have really been the Loomis of the Friday the 13th franchise had he shown up in more movies.
I can't imagine how the pitch meeting went for this. So then in the climax, he's gonna be trying to throw up in the baby's mouth. What do we think? Man.
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Just roll with it.
No questions.
See, this is so fucking cool.
I mean, it's like the most special effects I think that a Friday movie has had at this point.
See, this is kind of a theatrical vibe.
Definitely,
like
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The spotlight and everything. It's also very grand and dramatic.
Yeah. You remember this?
I think I do. I'm bracing myself for something.
It's iconic.
Yes. Yep.
It really is too bad we never got a 90s Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
But that's like gotta be the best cliffhanger in horror history.
Wow.
So that was the movie. How do you feel about it now?
I definitely appreciate it a lot more. I can't really say that I love the movie, but I get it. It's awesome. I get it now. I do.
That's really awesome.
I think it's entertaining. I wouldn't call myself the Jason Goes to Hell hater anymore.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
So like you want to be a director too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, eventually.
Like what would you say to Adam Marcus, you know, as a how old are you?
I'm 22.
So like if you next year got a chance to do a Friday the 13th movie, you know, like that's that's what position Adam was in. Like, what would you like to say to him as a director?
Oh my gosh. I would just want to commend him for what he did because I I talk a lot, like I know a lot, but I don't have any experience. And I think if I went out and I tried to do what he had to do, where they were like, make a Jason movie where he's not wearing the hockey mask, like change the story, and then there's all this studio input and they're having to cut it down and everything. I just want to commend him for what he was able to do with that, because I could not do what he did, I don't think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, as a special surprise, I have Adam Marcus himself in this Zoom meeting.
What?
The man, Adam Marcus, director of Jason Goes to Hell. I would like to welcome him to the show.
Hello.
There we go. Hi.
There he is.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow, it's really... I was just gonna say it's really nice to meet you.
Awesome. Well, I have good news, Adam, because she liked the movie this time, which is fantastic.
Hey, that's a moment. All right. That's awesome.
Did.
Thank you. I got to tell you, it's funny. That seems to be happening more and more recently with people who are seeing the film not for the first time, but are seeing it after a period of time and suddenly going like, wait a minute, why did I hate this?
Yeah.
So what about it changed for you this time?
I think the first time I explained to Roger, I think the first time why I wasn't a fan is because there was so little of Kane Hodder, and I'd gotten really accustomed to seeing him in part 7 and part 8. And then it was just something completely different. And now having more of the background information about all the other involvement and all these other people that were kind of forcing changes to be made, like I understand why I thought the story was such a mess. But this time, I mean, you always notice more things upon a second watch, and so this time I really noticed how well crafted a lot of the suspense was in the movie, how rich, honestly, like the storyline was, which is really, really different to a lot of Friday movies, and why I think a lot of people didn't like it upon their first watch as Friday fans, because they just expect Jason to go out and like do his thing. So there's just a lot more to notice upon a second watch, I think.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The funny thing about about the Kane stuff is that while Jason in the form of the hockey mask wearing killer doesn't appear as often, the funny thing is just amount of time on screen, it's more time than almost any of the other movies that it's actually the hockey mask Jason on screen, because of the opening and because of the ending. Which is so long. That fight is so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's really funny you mentioned that, because I noticed that for the first time, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's an enormous amount of time that Kane is on screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just probably for most people because of the gap in between with like the body hopping.
Totally.
Which I love still, but yeah, I get that though. I'm so happy that you like the film now too, though.
Yeah, and I'm not super big on body horror just because it's really effective for me. So that's like, a testament to the film. But I also, now I have so many questions. But can I just ask?
Please.
Was it your idea or what was the inspiration for the kind of throwing up and soul transfer kind of?
Here's the thing. My issue with the Friday films as we got to part 8 was that it all felt very, for me, it started to feel sanitized and not scary. And I started to feel like the fun of the first few movies is this sense of invasion of people's bodies, meaning the way that he murdered people was so personal, was so ugly and sinister. And especially Pamela in the first movie, there's just like there's an ugliness to it that I think was frightening for the audience. I think the problem with sequels, especially with the big monster sequels, whether it's, Jason, Freddy, Leatherface, we start rooting for the villain. We start canonizing and making a hero of this monster. And so for me, I was like, okay, I need to get the audience to start thinking about the shark swimming under their feet rather than rooting for the shark. No one ever roots for Jaws. No one. You root for the victims. You don't root for the shark. And my big concern was how do I make people feel uneasy and squeamish and keep them in a place where they're like, I don't want that guy to come get me. It's why I put together a cast of people that felt like real human beings rather than just a bunch of very attractive teenagers. It was, here's a bunch of real people, and some are beautiful, some are odd, some are, we're all over the place. And that was sort of, and ages and male and female of different ages and different sizes and all of those things was really important to me, because I was like, I want everyone to feel that they could be in this town, which immediately makes you more frightened. When it came to the regurgitating of Jason's soul, one, I can't think of something more disgusting. I also felt that, look, Dean, Lorey, and I, who wrote the movie, Dean had written a terrific film before this called Johnny Zombie, which ended up becoming My Boyfriend's Back for Disney. It was the first movie I sold in Hollywood. And that movie was originally an allegory for what had happened with AIDS. And Dean and I grew up in New York when AIDS hit its zenith. We were in college, and I lost a ton of friends. So there was something about this idea of kissing that became scary for people, that became dangerous for people, because we had seen so much of that hysteria. So a lot of the themes that I was working with as a young filmmaker revolved around this terror of body contact, of sexual contact. So especially since I knew it was going to be a lot of men with other men, that was another thing where I was like, nobody's done this. This is new. And for all the bro dudes in the audience, I knew it would freak them out. For a guy like me who grew up in New York, none of that would never freak me out. I'm like, oh, look, there's my pals kissing. This was like, I know that there are guys who are like total Jason heads who are going to be like, wait a minute, why is this in a Friday 13th movie? So I did want some of that. I wanted to make the audience feel like they were in the hands of a filmmaker that was dangerous.
Okay. Wow. Really interesting.
That was the idea.
And so I'm 22 now. So we were kind of in a similar age.
Yeah.
How did you, I'm not sure how to word this question. How did you like get yourself together and get in that headspace to direct? How did you prepare yourself, like being handed such a big project?
I think it was a combination of elements. One, I had been working in the business since I was 11 years old, and I had run 2 theater companies during my teen years into my 20s. So I had already run 2 companies. I was already teaching acting by that point. And so for me, I was one of those guys when I was 15, I was middle-aged. It was like, that was sort of my life. By the way, there's my writing partner and brilliant wife, Deborah, and our dog. So, so I just didn't want there to be like this creeping thing, like, that's my partner. Here's the thing. I never pictured myself as a kid or a 23-year-old, or I never thought of myself that way. Mostly because I had extraordinary teachers and mentors who never treated me that way, who were like, look, you want to do this, great, but we're not going to treat you differently than we treat the adults in our world. You're going to be treated the same way. So from the time I was 11, I was spoken to as though I was an adult at the table. And I had to take on those responsibilities. Otherwise, I would sink rather than swim. So for me, it was always swim, swim, swim. Also, look, I had known Sean since I was 8 years old. So I knew Sean Cunningham. Noel Cunningham was my best friend growing up. And so I knew him, and I knew, the scorpion that was on my back. I mean, I knew who he was. So he didn't scare me. He tried. Many times he tried to scare me. But I had a real healthy fear of Kane Hodder, which everybody should have. But I wasn't afraid of my producer. And I will tell you, the studio had been nothing but supportive. Like, they were so kind. And look, there's this myth, and it is a myth, and we expose that myth in the documentary. There was this myth that 60% of Jason Goes to Hell was reshot. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's an absolute lie. Literally, I think 1.5% was reshot because there was an explanation that was added to the jail sequence, to the end of the jail sequence. We just reshot a little piece of Stephen Williams' explanation of Creighton's explanation. The other thing was we added all the camper stuff. So that was additional photography. That was added after the film was done. And I'm literally today in 2 hours, I'm going to be interviewing with our director, Eddie Samuelson. I'm going to be interviewing Michelle Clooney, who is the girl who gets split up the middle. We're interviewing her for the
nice
today.
Awesome.
So that stuff was added. That's it. That's all that was tacked onto this movie. So, you know, I even during the reshoots, like the studio was so like sweet. And when they asked us to add stuff to the movie, it was, look, audience is digging the movie. They want some campers getting killed after having sex.
Of course.
And my reaction to that was, I hate that, because I hate the idea that these movies put out there that, you know, smoke dope, drink, have premarital sex, and you get murdered. I've never understood why the Christian right is so against these movies, because these movies are actually like the best advertisement the Christian right has ever had. Like, if you do any of the wrong things, Jason's going to slaughter you.
Don't sin.
I think it's simply because we show boobies. That's what they're afraid of, I think. So for me, I was like, okay, if I have to put that scene in the movie, which I find abhorrent, I was like, fine, I'll put in, and again, it goes back to the AIDS reference, I will put in a no safe sex.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay.
So them choosing not to use the condom. And remember, this is 1993. When that shot of Richard Gant stepping on the condom happened, the audience, every person in the audience went, oh, because they knew the shit that was coming. It was like somebody getting called to the principal's office. It was amazing. Also, you know, look, remember, this was super rare at the time, almost never happened. But I was told, you know, the way I wanted to shoot the death, I knew Michelle would be fully frontal naked. I knew that. So I said, great, I have to have an actor who's willing to go full frontal as well. And while I was instructed by Sean Cunningham and the studio, no angry pickle, there is a shot even in the R-rated version where you do see Michael Silver head to toe. It's a blip, but you see him. And I demanded that. I was like, why are we always just showcasing women's bodies, which bravo, lovely, but why are we not giving equal time to men? It doesn't make sense. It's antiquated, and you're cutting out a ton of your audience. You're telling the women in the audience, you're not allowed to look at that, which is, you know, has its own issues, that's for sure. And you're also telling the men in the audience who want to see that, you're not allowed to look at that. And honestly, the only reason that we're not allowed to look at that is because of male panic, because so many men, especially at that time, were running everything in the studio system. So you could put as many women as you wanted to, you just couldn't have men. And I'm like, no, not in my movie. And there's a wonderful actor, Jonathan Penner, who got cut from the film, but I think you'd see his stuff in the TV version of the movie. They have some of it, but he played Vicky's boyfriend, Allison Smith's boyfriend, and he got murdered in their bathroom where they lived together in the piece, and he also full frontal. And Jonathan, who I'm very close friends with to this day, Jonathan was the fastest actor ever to take off his clothes on set. Like, he couldn't have been more excited. He was so thrilled to be naked. It was literally like my you know, like my nephews who are like 3, and they immediately want to rip their clothes off. Like, ah! You know, I was like, literally, it was like that, but it was a grown man standing there.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I have another question, if you don't mind.
No.
So this movie definitely has more of a cult following now.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot more people are enjoying it more upon their second viewing. There's more appreciation. But I do YouTube, so I'm starting to develop a tougher skin dealing with comments and things. But how as a young creator do you deal with, you know, mass criticism? Because I think about someday I'll put out my first project. I would love to direct, but you know, how do you deal with that? I guess, you know, at such a young age, or, you know.
Sure. First thing is, you should direct. If you want to direct, if that's something you really want to do it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for anybody to say you can, or you know, just do your thing. You know, I mean, that's filmmaking, because the tools have become such a part of our everyday lives, because everybody's got a film studio in their pocket now. It's one of those things where I go, like, it's sort of like somebody saying, I want to write. Well, then write. If you want to direct a movie, direct your movie. Like, tell your story. Heck yeah. Here's the thing. I was lucky in one regard, in that there was no internet when this movie rolled around. The internet was in its infancy. There was no YouTube. There were no comment areas. There was none of that. There was an IMDb, funny enough.
Oh, really?
Yes. There was. And I will tell you, IMDb at the time, you had to buy a disc and put it in your hard drive in order to access it. I'm not kidding.
Before our time.
Yeah. And what they would do is they would do wrap-ups of the movie, but they would do full reviews. They would do these long reviews on IMDb. That was the beginning of it. And Jason Goes to Hell got a rave, like a beautiful, amazing review. Like, I was shocked, right? And the funny thing is, what most people don't remember, Jason Goes to Hell is one of the best reviewed of all the Friday the 13th movies. We got a great review in the New York Times. The Wall Street Journal called us a return to what was the right word? What was the word they used? Civility. That they loved the scene about no safe sex equals death. That was like, they hung their hats on it. They called it a return to morality. Return to morality. I was like, oh my God, Jason Goes to Hell's a return to morality. I've never been so offended in my life. So here's the thing. It wasn't until there was this numbskull who put out a video on YouTube at the beginning of early in YouTube years, called How New Line Destroyed the Friday the 13th franchise.
Oh.
And that video went that year's version of viral. And suddenly I started getting accosted everywhere. I would go to conventions, I would go to signings, I would go to and I'm telling you, it was the number of people who wished me cancer, the people who told me I raped their childhood. I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, man, I made a Friday the 13th movie, and by the way, the goriest Friday the 13th movie. Like, it is so gory. And I'm like, okay, look, and here's the funny thing. It got to a point, first, to answer your question really specifically, at first, it sucked. It was dark. I was like, this is awful. Not because somebody didn't like my movie, whatever. I felt as though people had taken it as a personal affront, that people really hurt. And I was like, man, I didn't want to hurt anybody. I wanted people to feel really exhilarated and maybe thrown or frightened, but definitely not disrespected, because I'm an uber fan of these movies. So I was the first real hardcore fan of these films to grow up and make one of these films. You know, the other filmmakers, I'm sure, you know, Tommy McLaughlin is a huge fan of Friday the 13th, but he was already an adult when he was given that job. He'd already made other films. He was that guy. He was a filmmaker getting a job. For me, it was my first movie, and I poured my soul into this. It was 3 years of my life. So it was painful. However, I soon discovered, if I really just tuned out the noise and listened to the problem was there wasn't enough hockey mask in the movie. Well, suddenly I'm like, okay, wait, I didn't make that decision. That was not my decision to make. So there's not enough hockey mask. Got it. Cool. What else? Do you like the acting? Yeah. The gore. Oh yeah, hell yeah. The look of Jason, absolute badass. One of the best. Okay. You like Kane Hodder? Love him. Is there enough comedy in the movie? Oh yeah, it's pretty funny. Is it scary enough? Yeah, no. That part is fine. Okay. So what you hate is that the thing that you get for 6 movies prior to mine, which is a ton of hockey mask. That's the issue. And the minute you reduce it down to there's not enough of this iconic symbol throughout the film. And by the way, I tried. I put in the whole reflective thing. That was literally me going, I got to give the fans some mass. Yes. Okay. I wanted to initially, my initial vision for the movie, we just couldn't afford it, was I wanted, when the body started to decompose, I wanted to see parts of the mask jutting out from under the skin. I wanted to see the eyes sink down as though they're in the holes of the hockey mask. I wanted to see the mask starting to emerge through the flesh. We just couldn't afford to do it. So I came up with the mirror gag. I'm like, all right, we'll see him in the reflective surfaces, which, by the way, that was no easy thing to pull off. Like every time we did one of those mirror gags, that was hours of trying to angle refrigerators and, make something happen that people go like, oh, that'll work. That's great. And everything was done in camera. There was no digital. We didn't have digital. So when I would break down people's arguments and we'd talk about the movie, what ended up happening was people started saying, well, it's not a Good Friday film, but it's a badass horror film. Okay. I'll take it. I'll take that. Great. Thank you. I like that I've made the only Cronenbergian Friday the 13th. That makes me very proud. Because again, what I love about David Cronenberg is that he upsets the norm. He rattles sort of your cage of feeling comfortable. And that's what I was trying to do. I don't like horror movies where the blood and gore is just for fun. If it doesn't hurt, I don't know why we're doing it. I don't get, it's the difference, let's say, between Hostel and Hostel 2. The first Hostel is painful. The first Hostel is like this, and it's, I think what they did, which I think is brilliant, is they reversed the male gaze. They said, no. We're going to make all the victims male, except -1. But everybody's going to be these male victims, these bro dudes who are in Amsterdam ogling women and treating women as objects. And now they're the objects. I was like, okay, that's badass. That's so smart and great. Then Hostel 2, they went, yeah, forget all that. We're just going to kill girls. And I was like, what? Wait, no, what you did was that was good. Do that some more. That's great. So I wanted to make people feel unsafe. And I did that. The problem is I think I did it a little too well because it really pissed some people off. And again, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You don't like a movie, that's cool. You don't like my movies, that's fine. I get it. And Jason Goes to Hell, I take responsibility for what's on screen because I made it. I shot all of that. I did not have the power of any kind to say what was going to be content approved. So day one, the mask has to go. Day one, that has to happen. So I just felt, while the criticisms were in many cases unwarranted or unearned, here's the thing. Everybody's got an opinion. And I will say, today's meeting of you, I was definitely prepared to be snarky and funny and and take your criticisms and deal with that. Luckily and thankfully, that is not what actually transpired. But again, I'm totally cool with someone not liking it. Just come at me with your ideas, not your anger, because the anger, I didn't make anything to get angry about. It's let's have a conversation about what it is you don't like. And I'm pretty sure for horror fans, the likes are going to far outweigh the dislikes if you actually start talking about the movie rather than the iconography of a hockey mask.
True. So what's one thing maybe that you wish you knew before being handed the budget for a Friday movie?
Well, when you say the budget for a Friday movie, I had one of the lowest budgeted Friday movies of all time. It was only $2.5 million. I only had $2.5 million to make the movie.
It doesn't show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Especially
Well,
with the effects.
Well, here's the thing. I did two really smart things. One, I said yes to Can Be, and especially to my buddies Bob and Howard. Bob Kurtzman was was not just the on-set makeup guy, but he also was my second unit director. And the reason I did that was I said, look, I don't know how to shoot this stuff the way you know how to shoot it. And for me to walk around acting like I'm a genius and I know how to stop, like, no, I want the movie to be great. Walk me through. I need you to help me light. I need you to help me get the right camera angles to capture what you've created. They're your pieces of art. Let's do that. And Howard Berger's just a beast. The guy is unbelievable. And Greg Nicotero is fantastic as well. He just wasn't as hands-on on this movie. He was more budgetary and yelling at me for spending all of his money. When it came to the other side of it, it's Bill Dill. Bill Dill was my cinematographer. Bill Dill is still a very close friend. I adore Bill. And he's the single best cinematographer I've ever worked with. We're actually working together again this coming year. And Bill and I talked about this movie in terms of, I mean, one of our biggest inspirations for the look of this movie, I kid you not, was The Magnificent Ambersons by Orson Welles. I guarantee no other Friday the 13th director had a conversation with his cinematographer about The Magnificent Ambersons. Guaranteed. So Bill and I, we spoke a language of image that didn't just begin and end with, John Carpenter's The Thing. While I adored that movie and I loved the look of that movie, we talked about movies in totem, so that it was like, we're going to create something that is richer and look, I mean, The Godfather is always known for its cinematography by the Prince of Darkness, because everything had this depth. I said to Bill, I want that depth. I want that Bauhaus depth. And he gave it to me in every scene. It's unbelievable. The inky blacks that are in the background, because I said, I want to feel like it can come from anywhere. And that was the feeling of just like, there's just this endless night behind you. So that was part of making the film look richer than it was. But yes, it was only $2.5 million. Here's the thing I wish I knew. I wish I had figured out a way to make the mask more of the movie. I wish I had figured out a way, and again, it just would have taken more time of me being a smart filmmaker and working with Dean and figuring that out. Once I'd been told, you don't have the hockey mask, I just went, all right, I don't have the hockey mask. Instead of, and again, I tried to, the reflections and everything, but I would have figured out a way to make it more showcased in the movie. I also, I had never seen The Hidden before this movie, and then everybody accused me of ripping off a movie that wasn't in my lexicon. And I wish I had seen it, because I would have figured out a way to make the transfers less Hidden-like, because other than that, that's the only thing that's like The Hidden. That's it. I would have fixed that. But honestly, no, I'm proud of the movie I made. Like, I'm like, yeah, I made that, and fight me,
Yeah, I think, especially with filmmaking, it's kind of one of those things where you can go to school as long as you want, but you kind of just have to figure out as you go.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. And look, on my very first day of the shoot of this movie, I walked onto set with a 50 shot list. And when I was a student filmmaker, no problem, 50 shots in my sleep. My first AD and my cinematographer saw this. They immediately walked over to Sean with my list. And then all three of them came back to me scolding me. And like, you're lucky if you get 20 shots today, bucko. I was like, oh.
Yeah, 50 shots in one day.
Right. So I had to, there's a photograph of me sitting at the lunch tables, which had been put out on the lawn at the first location. The first scenes we shot were all in the house with Jessica alone, when she's at the car, and then when she's walking through the house at night. And that was my first day. And so on the first day, I'm sitting at this lunch table with my back turned towards the camera, like scratching out shots and kind of marrying shots together, right? So I walked back, I had 23 shots, and they allowed me. They're like, all right, we'll let you have 23. I said, okay. Mm-hmm. By the end of the day, I had shot 28 shots.
Hey.
By the time we finished Jason Goes to Hell, my median average of shots per day were 38 per day.
Wow.
Right. Here's the thing. I learned very quickly, they can put as many restrictions on you as possible. But if you're enthusiastic and you have a game plan and you know how to execute that game plan correctly, the team will jump in and have fun and get excited and move at your speed. Mm-hmm. The killer of most movies is the boredom. It's so boring. Making movies is so boring. Unless you go, I'm not going to let this be boring. This is going to be fun. I'm sorry, there are way too many easy ways to make money in this world. Mm-hmm. Filmmaking is not one of them. So I better have an amazing time if this is what I'm dedicating my life to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, with only one exception, I've never had a bad time on a film shoot. I've always had a great time.
Do you think it was your enthusiasm or your preparedness, or you not picky, or how do you think you got through it so fast?
I was picky. Who was I picky? Uh-huh. Someone at one point called me Little Napoleon. And I was like, wow, I'm taller than Napoleon. So how am I Little Napoleon? It's like, all right. No, I think it was a combination of the things that you talked about, as far as enthusiasm and preparedness. I also think it was being a little young and a little dumb. Mm. Like, I didn't know any better. So there's a terrific, this is such a weird segue, but it's true. There's a terrific Burt Reynolds movie from the early 80s called Paternity. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. And all it's about is about Burt Reynolds wanting to have a kid, right? But he doesn't want to have a wife. He just wants to have a kid. Mm-hmm. And a thing that a guy has to have somebody else to help him with, because you can't do that on your own. And so he learns valuable life lessons about being a partner and being a good human being and blah, blah, blah. But he's got an incredible moment where he sees a kid riding a bike on the edge of a curb, like a rounded curb, and the kid is riding his bike on. And he said, that's an amazing thing that kid is doing. He said, and pretty soon some asshole is going to tell him he can't do it, and he'll never be able to do it again. Mm-hmm. That's filmmaking. Like, you can do anything. You can pull off anything. You can make any movie for any budget. It's just when everybody comes in and tells you, no, you can't. Yeah, you can. You just have to want to. And you just have to go, well, I know there are a lot of rules. Fuck the rules. Let's just go make something. Let's tell the story I want to tell. There are lots of people who will tell you no. The best teachers in the world, the best parents in the world are the ones who say, be careful, but go for it. And that's, I've always had that. I've had amazing mentors in my life who never put limits on what I could do. As I said earlier, I was never treated as a child. I was treated like a professional. Mm-hmm. And as a professional, just reach your end goal. Like, finish the project, do your best work, but get it done, and get it done the way you see it. Look, the best advice I was ever given was, I was given two pieces of advice from an amazing lawyer that I had for a minute when I first entered this business, a guy named Peter Deckham, who was Martin Scorsese's lawyer. He was the lawyer to the stars. And he was a lovely guy. And he said to me, he said, Adam, I've got 2 rules for you. I said, okay. He said, first, never marry an actress. Well, I failed at that because my wife is an actor. He said, and second, never make a movie that you're not 100% passionate about. Mm. I've made one movie in my career that I was not 100% passionate about. And it was the only time I had a terrible time making a movie. Everything else has been a freaking joy. I've loved it. I've loved every minute. And it's because I cared. Because if you're passionate, that covers a lot of the scars you're going to get while making a movie. Movie making is not for the faint of heart. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's really hard. And directing is running into battle while bombs are going off, yet you're the general. So you have to tell everybody on either side of you who's running alongside of you what to do in the moment, So it's terrifying, but it's the most gratifying, extraordinary experience if you love the story you're telling.
How do you kind of match that with the prospect of knowing that you probably need to give your movie some commercial appeal to make money so you can make another movie? Like, how do you kind of grapple with that?
Here's the thing. Look, I think you need to tell a story that you feel has some universal appeal. It might not. There's a producer that I work with, a guy named Mike Metaboy, who is a legend. And I was doing a film that my wife and I wrote called Black Autumn that we sold to Fox with Mike Metaboy. Mike wrote a book that's terrific, biography, but one of his biggest rules are never follow trends. Because by the time you're following it, it's cliche. So here's the thing. If there's a story you really believe in, okay, no matter what, there's going to be more people who believe in that story. Like, you're not going to be a solo thing. That's not going to be just you. It's finding your audience at that point that's the tricky part. And that's the good thing about social media, is that you can actually kind of cast a big net and try to find the people who will like this story. You can get the trailer out to millions of eyes. You can do all of that, but again, and I'm not saying that's easy. I'm just saying it's easier than it once was. Here's the thing. Okay, The Witch. Like, what about that movie? Eggers? Yes. What about that movie is populist? Right? I mean, seriously, let's tell a story about a 16th century religiously shunned family living in the woods that moves slower than molasses and only has one actual scene of horror at the very end. Who would ever, but everybody knows that movie. I mean, everybody knows that movie. Mm-hmm. So here, or his follow-up, The Lighthouse, which is even more like, what? Now, he'd already made The Witch. He already made The Witch, so he had a base at that point. And by the way, I love his filmmaking. I think he's amazing. Mm-hmm. I think he's one of the actual true independent voices in a sea of people who pretend to be independent voices. Mm-hmm, for sure. Who would think that was... Now, I will put on the other side of it, let's take Ari Aster, who calculates, whether he wants to believe it or not, calculates every single audience member he's pulling in for a film. I mean, Hereditary is and by the way, and I'm a fan of Hereditary until the third act, when I think it when I don't love it.
It does what it does.
Yeah. But the thing is, that movie, I refer to him as the Quentin Tarantino of horror, because what he does is he steals from everyone, puts it in a fruit salad blender, and you end up going, I know all of this is from shit I've seen before, but I can't tell you what the shit is. Which is brilliant. Like, that is brilliant. I'm not saying I all respect. I mean, it's when I see the stuff that's literally torn from The Exorcist 3 from that movie, I go like, wow, I wish I had the balls, and I wish I had critics kind of stoned enough to not go, wait a minute, man, that's from The Exorcist 3. So, and again, I'm picking one of a million references he has in that piece. By the way, I think it's a beautifully crafted film. I think he's a brilliant guy. Midsommar, not so much. When you're actually stealing from the Nicolas Cage version of the Wicker Man.
Wicker Man.
When you actually put your lead in a bear suit, I'm like, wow, you really doing this? When are the bees coming? When are we bringing the bees? It's a very that one no. But I think that when you try to calculate your risk with an audience, suddenly now you're thinking like a studio. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not an independent spirit thing. And if your voice is truly original, it will find a home. It will find people who, look, I made a tiny movie a few years ago that I'm super freaking proud of called Secret Santa. And Secret Santa is the last thing in the freaking universe that a studio would put out. They would never put this movie out because things are said and done that you are not allowed to do in horror movies. You're not allowed to do it. Not allowed to do it. One, it's actually funny, not kind of funny, not smart ass funny, but it's funny. Two, I say things. I think saying stuff is so much worse than showing stuff now. I think if you say real things that are politically incorrect, that are exposing the ugliness of the world we actually live in, I think that's true horror now. I think you can cut up people, blow up people, you can do all that stuff. Nobody cares anymore. Like they're like, oh, that was cool, and then they move on. But if you say some shit, that stays forever. That literally, that's the stuff that actually cuts people to the bone. So when I made Secret Santa, I went, I'm making this for every person like myself who feels like we're being limited on our verbiage when our verbiage is the thing that can expose evil, that can expose racism, sexism, sizeism, all of these things that are the actual evils, yet we're not allowed to use our voices to go, no, that. And so I think that again, I wouldn't make that with a studio, and I wouldn't make it for a studio audience. I'm making it for the audience that the movie has found. And the number of letters that I get from people, the amount of emails I get, the amount of stuff that I get from people going like, thank you for making this. Because this is the way I feel when I'm with my family at Christmas. I just want to just kill them. And so I don't think that movie would be the same film if I worried tremendously about, are people going to get upset with me?
Right.
Or will they watch it?
Yeah, I just watched a new Amazon Prime original. It's called The Manor, and it kind of deals with, death and our mortality, and the leads are all, above 70. And it was really fresh. It was really interesting. And
it's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with what you're talking about.
I'm going to check it out. That sounds great, actually.
Yeah, which is there are some fun twists as well. Yeah, but it's pretty bleak because it really makes you think about your own mortality and stuff. And my dad was kind of having a trouble with it because he's in his 60s now, and he's like, oh man, this is making me really uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, that means it's worked. That means it works. That's great. Yeah, it's cool.
I didn't mean to steamroll you, Roger, if you had questions too. I got a little excited.
I interviewed Adam 2 times, and hopefully next year we can do a 3rd time. So
absolutely
go all out.
Roger to date is the person who's had the most interesting interview I've ever had, where I was asked questions that had nothing to do with anything I'd ever been asked before. So Roger and I are great. We get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, apologies if I asked you anything you've answered a million times.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, he completely surprised me with this. So these were all just coming off the top of my head.
No, and I have to tell you what's been lovely. Actually, I got to tell you, you haven't asked me a lot of the stuff that other people have asked you, and honestly, even stuff that is stuff that I've heard before. It's coming from somebody who's enthusiastic because you just watched the movie and had a different reaction to it. So that's a totally new place for me. So no, that's very cool. And the fact that you just watched it and had a better reaction is like makes me very happy. It's not what I was expecting to walk into. So that's fantastic.
Me
Yeah,
neither. You should definitely watch her reaction because she was grossed out at some point.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a very effective movie for me. Yeah, and we were also kind of marveling at the style and the cinematography, and pointing out how it's quite different to a lot of the Friday movies. And we were very appreciative, yeah, during our viewing.
That's awesome. I actually I spent the weekend with Tom McLaughlin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on for Halloween. We were together on Halloween. We were at Chiller together. We were signing right next to each other.
Oh, nice.
And it was awesome because I've met Tommy several times. He's an amazing guy. But when I'm sitting with him at dinner the night before the convention, I said to him, I said, listen, I just want you to know yours is my favorite. Like out of all the movies, 6 is my favorite. Always has been. I said it's got the most style. It's really funny. I just think it's clever, and the kills are amazing, and it looks great. And he was so thrown that another Friday director was like, I didn't say like after mine, yours is like, no, I didn't say any of that. And I literally said to him, I said I actually like yours, then I like part 2, then I like mine. So that's my order.
Nice.
And so I got to tell you, like he's one of the few directors of those movies that I have so much cinematic respect for. I think they're all terrific people, minus one of them. But I really do. I love Tommy, and I loved his vision for the movie. So his movie inspired me more than any of the other films. Like I actually was like, I would rather make a sister movie to Tom's movie than anything else. Like something that would almost feel like a perfect bookend between those two films.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Have you had any other experiences with the other directors? Like, I mean, do they have any strong opinions?
I grew up with Steve Miner. Steve was always there, so I know him before his success. I don't know him since. He actually gave me editing equipment. Well, Steve was called the Kid at Cunningham Productions because he was a kid, and then I was called the Kid once Steve left. So we shared a nickname. And then he and Susan Cunningham, Noel's mom and Sean's wife, who cut Friday the 13th Part 2, and did a brilliant job on that movie. Susan and Steve gave me all the editing equipment I went to NYU with and cut all my student films on. So Steve was terrific. He doesn't talk about the Friday movies anymore. He doesn't talk at all about much of anything, actually. With a number of the other directors, we all met at I think it wasn't Comic-Con. It was like a Fango convention. One year they had like a whole panel of just Friday directors, which was great. And of course, Steve Miner and Sean were not there. The rest of us were. And I have to tell you, there was a moment, it was a beautiful moment. We were all just talking, hanging out. It was lovely. And Tony Todd was with us. And I mean, it was really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was a little awkward for me because I didn't hire Tony to play Creighton Duke, because he did come in to meet with me for Creighton, but I didn't hire him because Stephen Williams is the Duke.
Yeah.
And so we were all sitting at a table together, and the notion, I don't know if you guys know this, but Quentin Tarantino's one true desire when he became a filmmaker, or right before he made Reservoir Dogs, was that he just wanted to make a Friday the 13th movie. That's not a joke. That was his goal. That's what he wanted to do, right? Which makes perfect sense since they are the ultimate exploitation movie, and that's what Quentin loves.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make this film, and all of us at the table were saying, wouldn't it be amazing if Quentin got to make one of these films? Because both Siskel and Ebert's heads would explode off their bodies because they cannot give a good review to a Friday the 13th movie, but they cannot give a bad review to Quentin Tarantino.
That is so funny.
So to watch the two of them having to go like, you would literally have scanners happen with both those guys. So everybody had a sense of humor. I think all the Friday directors had to have kind of a sense of humor. John Buechler more than anybody, like he's the sweetheart. I did know Jimmy Isaacs, who did Part 10. Great guy who was almost as abused as I was by Sean Cunningham. And now Sean never says anything negative about Jimmy because Jimmy died. So if I had had the good sense to just die, Sean Cunningham never would have said anything horrible about me. But I did not die. So no, Sean, Jimmy was a beautiful guy and incredibly talented artist and a great God. His makeup stuff was insane. You look at Naked Lunch. And you just go like, that's the director of Part 10, and that's the guy. So
he did House 3 too, right?
He sure did.
Awesome.
Which, by the way, was the first movie I worked on for Sean Cunningham.
Oh, nice. Cool little link there.
Yeah. So no, I'm look, the directors are all pretty terrific, pretty solid guys. Again, it would be nice to see some diversity in that group. There's none. It's just a bunch of white dudes hanging out. It just is. There's no way around it. Yeah. But I do have to say, like, all of us came from different points of view, and I think that served the franchise well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah. I guess I just have one more really random question.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you have, because I'm someone born in 99, so if there are any maybe underrated 80 movies I should check out. And then I'm also curious what modern movies you love, or if you have a favorite.
Okay, so which 80s movies you should check out, and then which modern movies do I love?
Yeah. Maybe just get some recommendations.
Okay. Wow. All right. Do you want strictly horror, or do you want like?
I'm just a movie fan in general. Horror is my favorite genre, but I'm a movie fan.
All right, good. Look, my favorite, and I'll say modern, even though it's now almost 15 years old. Mm-hmm. But my favorite modern horror film is Inside, the original French version.
Inside. Okay.
Oh, you've not seen Inside? Oh, fabulous. Do not see the American nonsense. There's an American remake that's dreadful. See the 2007 version of the movie. It's Dimension put it out. It's incredible. And for my money, one of the most feminist movies ever made. And it's made by two dudes. And it is an insanely feminist movie. It's, oh my God, it's so good. It's in the same period of High Tension and Frontiers. It's in that same sort of French new wave of extreme horror. But for me, it's the best. It's the best of the best. It's extraordinary. I mean, I love Martyrs, the original. There's a lot of that stuff that I adore, but that's the one. That's really spectacular. I'm also a huge fan of The Witch. I wasn't being cute about that. I actually adore that movie. I'm a giant fan of The Babadook, but I'm a bigger fan of The Nightingale, her follow-up film.
The Nightingale.
Which most people have not seen, and it's a period drama that is more horror film than The Babadook.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm writing all these down.
There is a sequence in the first act of The Nightingale that you can't unsee, so a warning, that will brutalize you, but that will absolutely make you feel more than I think any Hollywood movie has achieved in decades.
Sure.
Oh, it's so good. I'm a big fan of it's such a weird term to use. I have a tremendous appreciation for what Gaspar Noé did in Irreversible. I'm not a fan of Climax. I think Climax is masturbatory and ugly for ugly's sake, rather than when Gaspar Noé wants to say something and wants to get us to think. I'm all on board. I love it. When he's going, look what I can do. Look what I can do. I don't care. I am not a fan of the recent Halloween movies.
Okay, interesting.
Like at all.
Interesting.
Actually, they anger me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Why is that? Just maybe a Spark Notes version. Just
I don't like to be insulted on a constant basis. There's a line of dialogue in the Halloween reboot that I think kind of says it all, and it also shows the forgiveness of an audience that I don't understand, but only because there's a lot of Michael Myers in it, That they got. The mask is there. Absolutely. My issue is a teenage girl anywhere in the world doing this. Oh, hello, grandmother. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, grandmother. It's
grandmother.
weird.
But here's the thing. That's for me a symptom of the larger issue. It is yeah, I would rather watch the Rob Zombie movies.
Oh, really?
In a big way.
Okay.
Well, Kylie isn't a fan of those, right?
Wait. And I'm not saying that I am either. What I'm saying is I watch the Rob Zombie movies. I go, here's a legitimate horror guy making a horror movie. You don't have to like it or not, but you have to go, yeah. But he loves this genre and has respect for the people who are watching. Even if you don't dig it, he's serving up a brand of horror that he believes in. That's my issue. That's my issue. I'm not a big fan of people who slum it in horror to make money.
Like people who come from the comedy genre.
It's not just comedy genre. Or... It's saying it's
like selling out.
Oh,
kind of?
Hello, grandmother.
Sure.
Do you know how people talk? Because these are not. This is not The Righteous Gemstones, which, by the way, I adore Danny McBride's comedy. I adore him. I adore him. Mm-hmm. I've watched every single thing he's done. I think he's brilliant. Okay. I'm also a huge fan of David Gordon Green. Huge fan. George Washington all day long. I think he's brilliant. I look at those movies and I go, really? Really? Okay, cool. But I'm telling you, 10 years from now, we're going to look back on these movies with a very different eye.
Probably.
Yeah.
There's just always the modern hype, you know.
Right. And I appreciate that. I really do. I get how people get excited and all of that. Look, I love Gore Verbinski's remake of the Ring. I think that's an extraordinary remake. It's brilliant. That's
like my favorite horror movie of all time.
It's amazing. And then I go to watch, something like It Follows, and I go, oh, stop it. Stop it. You don't believe in your own rules. It Follows, unless it wants to stand on a rooftop naked and show you 70s bush. Got it. Then it doesn't follow. Then it just stands there, hauntingly looking at you. Okay, give me a break. So again, I'm there are a lot of things that people adore that I go, I don't get it. There are a lot of things that people kind of push aside where I go, no, there's a gem there that's actually got value. For me, as far as looking back on filmmaking, that I think that if you haven't had a chance, there's an incredible book called Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. It's my favorite book ever made about filmmaking. Peter Biskind wrote it, who is a brilliant writer. If you go through the glossary of films at the back of the book, by the way, it's one of the best books you'll ever read about filmmaking. You'll love it. You will love it. And Roger, I'm recommending it to you as well. If you go through the glossary in the back of the book, you have a better film school than any film school you could pay to go to.
Okay.
It is literally a list, a checklist of these are all the movies I need to see.
Okay, I'll put that on my Christmas list then.
But I will tell you, my favorite film of all time, number one favorite film of all time, is Bob Fosse's All That Jazz.
All That Jazz.
Right. You've mentioned that so many times.
It's because what's amazing? It's one of those movies that's getting lost to time because people are just not watching it. And it's now it's a Criterion film. And I'm like, if you're missing this movie, you are missing a film school education in a film.
Well, the torch is being passed here, so no worries.
Then my job is done.
Yeah.
Having spoken to you 2 times in the interviews, you are one of the most inspiring people I've ever talked to. And that's not just to do some ass kissing here.
No, thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
You rock.
Thank you, dude. I think you rock. That's why I keep coming to talk to you.
Awesome.
It's true.
Great.
Thanks for talking to me as well.
Absolutely. This was a joy.
Yeah, one thing, if I could give you a recommendation, which maybe you've already seen it, but if you enjoyed the direction of Gore Verbinski, which I love, he worked with the same cinematographer as The Ring on A Cure for Wellness.
Yes.
Did you watch that movie?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
I don't love where the story goes, but I thought it was one of the most beautiful, unique.
It is a gorgeous, gorgeous movie.
So pretty.
You could almost say it's a Gore Verbinski-ish movie.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I agree with you. I have a problem with the storytelling because I just kind of get it's so long.
Mm-hmm.
But look, here's the thing, and here's the trap for me of modern cinema, and I think this trap is starting to die a little bit, which I think is good. I'm not a Chris Nolan fan, nor have I ever been. But I'm a Denis fan. Like Denis Villeneuve, I think is wonderful. I mean, I'm watching. I'm wearing a Dune shirt, even though I didn't love Dune. I liked Dune. I liked it. I didn't love it. I feel like it's a cold movie to keep you at arm's length. Great shots do not a movie make.
Right.
And I think that the fetishistic love of image is hopefully dying a little bit. Because while a movie should look amazing, story.
Mm-hmm.
There are some terrible looking movies out there that are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And they're incredible because the story is brilliant. The director was on their game and the cast was marvelous. It should look good, especially now. There's no reason for a movie not to look good. But it's got to tell a story compelling enough that we fall in love with the people involved so we care about what happens to them. That's all it's really about.
Very true. Okay.
One last thing I will add.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, I interviewed Peter Atkins. He wrote the Hellraiser films, like 2, 3, and 4.
I know Peter.
And awesome. And so what do you think of Wishmaster? Because he mentioned in the interview, and I didn't notice it while I watched it, but Wishmaster is basically just farewell to like the 80s horror, which is why probably I love it so much. I mean, Ted Raimi, Kane Hodder, what's his name? The dude that also played like the killer in Intruder, who passed away like last year.
I don't.
He's also in Evil Dead 2. He was like also friends with like the Raimi brothers.
Oh, okay. So he's one of those guys, like the Scott Spiegel group.
Yeah. I love that movie. Since you know Peter, you've obviously seen it. So.
Oh, dude. Well, but no, Robert Kurtzman, my
he directed
the movie. So, and John Esposito did rewrites on it. Who's my best friend. So, no, look, I love Wishmaster. Wishmaster has this very sweet space in my heart because I was there the whole time that he was putting that movie together. And
really?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, look. I love Bob. Bob and John are both doing segments of an anthology film that I'm making right now that our company is making. And so I've hired both of them to write and direct. So
awesome.
Wishmaster's awesome.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, I feel like this
great, guys. So
this
good.
perfectly wraps it up.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Roger, for surprising me, and you, Adam, for being here. Like, I'm blown away. So
this was totally my pleasure and totally unexpected result. So it's brilliant. So Roger, anytime you want to introduce me to somebody who hates my movie, I am all for it.
I'm glad to have been a happy surprise then.
You really were. You really were.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Lovely meeting you, Kylie.
Yeah, you too.